Hello and welcome, folks. You are here at a special edition of the People's Power Podcast. We will be celebrating our 7th anniversary at the People's Justice Council. I will be your host today. My name is Lindsay Harper. I am Deputy Director of the People's Justice Council, and we have a wonderful guest today that you all may or may not have met before or heard. I'm not so sure. We have with us the Reverend Michael Malcom, and he is going to talk to us today about his book and the genesis of the People's Justice Council. Hey, Rev.
Hey, Lindsay. Good to be with you all today. Good to be on the People's Power Podcast.
Yes. It's a little bit of a different edition today, so I'm glad for this little bit of a different format. We can learn a little bit more about you and about the genesis of the People's Justice Council. So let's start out with you, Rev. Tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about how PJC came to be.
Well, yeah, my background is just as diverse as I believe that we should be. I was not always in the environmental justice movement. In fact, I was a pastor prior to this, and actually came out of traditional pastoring to do this work full time. So this work has come out of that. I always tell this story because this is my genesis to being in this work as ministry. Um, I was sitting at Emory University at a conference, and Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley, who now is one of my dear mentors, but at the
Yeah.
time I didn't know him at all. He made the statement. He said, "How can I preach to them in the pulpit and shout them in my pews, but they can't breathe in public?" And at that time, I was pastoring Rush Memorial on the Clark Atlanta University campus, and surrounded by just great minds, but also surrounded by legacy pollution
Mm,
and extraction. And I started seeing ministry different, which caused me to get into this work, but also to really start looking at this as ministry and a call from God. And
mhm,
we started the People's Justice Council back in 2018, I believe. We branched off from another nonprofit that we were a part of, and started up the People's Justice Council and have been rocking ever since. My reason for starting the People's Justice Council was to bring those of faith and of conscience to this call as a moral call, to see it the same way I did, to see that this is not just God, but also spirit and energy calling them to a greater work, greater than themselves.
So I firstly want to shout out Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley as an elder, in this work, who is a mentor and a guidepost and a shining light for a lot of folks in environmental justice movements and social justice in general around the world. So definitely, I think it's important to talk about our elders and to talk about those whose shoulders that we are standing on. I am curious if you could talk a little bit more about some of the other shoulders that you find yourself standing on. I know you've been doing this work, so you've been doing People's Justice Council for 7 years now. Talk a little bit about the history of the movement and kind of where we are coming in at this moment and the work that we have before us.
Yeah, so I don't tend to say I've been doing this for a long time. I think I've been in this work almost 10 years at this point. But in that time, I've had a great deal of people who have held me and held me close and cared for me, as well as held me accountable and mentored and taught me. I'll give a shout out to a few of them. Um, excuse me. Not only was Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley instrumental in my formation in this movement, and is still, but also I want to add into that Reverend Leo Woodbury, who without him, I don't think I would even know environmental justice and what environmental impacts really look like in a real sense. He taught me how to see when
Mm,
it comes down to this work. But then I have Mama Kathy, Kathleen Eglin, who just is, I call her Mama Kathy because that's exactly what she's been to me in this movement, as well as Mama Bahati, Dr. Mildred McLean. These have been mothers, and I want to make it clear, I don't see these people as just mentors. I see them as family in a real sense. What brought me to this work was seeing our people hurting, and knowing that I had a voice and had influence, and trying to utilize that to bring attention to these issues. What has kept me in this work is the family that I fight with. I
Mm.
want to also give another shout out to cousin Jackie Patterson, who is even to this day extremely close to me and dear to my heart. From the time I've started to the time walking now, she's been walking alongside me. Leslie Fields is another one that comes to mind. Tamara Tuzo Laughlin. And then I can also talk about the board for PJC. Oh my God. Listen, I dreamed of a board and somehow it came to fruition. That's all I can tell you. Christina Novaton, they are an amazing chairman to the PJC board, as well as you've got Destiny Hodges, who is amazing secretary, but just amazing youth in the movement. Has become an elder in the movement even at 20 some odd years old, because they've been extremely effective and impactful in this movement. Rochetta Ozane is also on the board, and Carrie Fulton. I mean, just stellar people who are on this board. And then we've got some upcoming members on the board who will be announcing real soon. I don't want to put them out there just yet. But oh my God, when I tell you some star-studded people are on this board when it comes down to the movement. So we listen, PJC is dope, has been dope, but when I tell you our future looks extremely bright and amazing, oh my God, the people who are supporting us and building us, you talked about
Hey.
shoulders, and you just got me excited about them shoulders that we stand on, because we've got some amazing people, advisors, Mustafa Santiago Ali, uh, Reverend Yearwood. I mean, just, my goodness. Reverend Dr. Ambrose Carroll, Green the Church. Amazing people who have poured into my life and who have held me accountable in this work.
And Dr. Bullard, who stars in our Wash documentary as well.
Yes, Dr. Bullard, as well as, I mean, visitors just thought enough of us to visit with us to talk about the documentary and one of our latest episodes. I, when I tell you these people are community, and we pour into each other, I mean that to the heart. Here's something, Lindsay. I'm gonna get this one up for free. I ain't even gonna charge
Okay.
y'all for it.
What you got? What you got?
You've heard it here, baby. This a treat. This a treat for our seventh anniversary. The only thing that will overcome capitalism is community. I don't. PJC hadn't had a whole lot of money to do this work. We don't have a whole lot of resources that we can just say that we some big nonprofit that's living in some legacy of a pile of resources. We've been able to be as impactful as we are and move the needle in the ways that we have because we've had community support, period. We've had some share of philanthropic dollars. We've even had some share in governmental grants. And when I say some share, I mean some share, beloveds. Listen. Some share ain't me bragging. Some share is me saying it's just some, some. But we've had some share in those and have had some successes. But our greatest successes have been rallying with community and rallying community and rallying in community and working with some of these experts that just named to share and care.
I love it. And I mean, You mentioned community, talk about family, and there is no way for us to do this alone. No one out here in this liberation, in this environmental justice movement is doing this work alone. We can't. The issues are too numerous. There's too much land, too many communities, too many people, for us to be in silos. Um, Many of the people that you mentioned are in different parts of the country, right? But what brings us together is that so many of our communities, Black and brown communities, low wealth communities, folks that look like us, are the ones who are, deliberately and purposefully put at bearing the brunt of a lot of the industry, government, corporate activities that pollute our bodies, our air, our land, our water. Can you talk a little bit about, let's get into some of these issues. So you talked about how you were sitting and you were listening to Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley, and he mentioned, how can you preach to the people when they can't breathe, right? Also, if people are hungry, right? What were some of the issues that came to you first where you were really like, my voice can speak to these issues? What were some of those things?
Well, it was really about the uncovering because not only was I pastoring in Atlanta, but I was born and raised in Atlanta. I grew up in East Atlanta. Um, and if you know about East Atlanta, then you know they're outside of East Atlanta is Connally, Georgia. And in Connally, Georgia, there's this big old landfill. Um, and so growing up, we were just growing up and playing outside and enjoying our childhood, and we were smelling this rotten egg type of smell. There was a creek that sat right outside, right on the side of my house, and I can remember seeing stuff floating in the creek and trash all over the place and all of these things. So, my experience is what I first came into contact with when it came when I'd say when the veil was lifted and I could see better. Um, my own experience showed me, oh man, we're in trouble. And then when I thought about the fact that of the trouble that was caused in my own experience, I look out and I see nothing has changed.
Mhm.
And that's when it's like, okay, you know what you experience. You see that nothing has changed. Now you've got all these tools that you've had for, you've been gathering all these tools through this experience, all the education, all of the life experiences you've gone through, all of the trainings, all of everything. Use it. Use it to liberate your people. Use it to
Right,
speak truth and power.
right.
Use these skills that you've been given to pay it forward for the other generations to come. So that at the end of the day, Lindsay, not only do I want to hear, this is me speaking as a faith leader, but not only do I want to hear God say, "Servant, well done," but I want it to be said about my life and legacy that He
Yeah.
tried to do something. He tried to do something about it. I didn't just see it bad and gripe about it. I didn't just see it bad and stupor. I didn't just see it bad and get stuck or stagnant. I saw it bad and I moved in action to try to do something about it.
You know what I appreciate about your story, Rev, is something that I find one of the things that drives me in this space. How is it for you, Reverend Durley, saying these words to you allowed you to open your eyes and see yourself as a subject matter expert? A lot of times I find that when we're moving around this work, I say all the time, if the policy people and the PhD people had all the answers, we wouldn't be here 50, 60 years down the road, worse off pretty much than we started, feels like, right? So as personally, as I move around this work, I try to help people understand you can use your own two eyes. Ask your grandmother, what were her experiences? Hell, ask your child. Your child's got experiences too. I don't need you to tell me my experiences, right? So, with you understanding the power of your own subject matter expertise, kind of in this moment, in this now moment, what are some of the issues that you feel in the community are like most pressing and that you see, PJC being able to, to support and to amplify and to bring attention to?
Well, two things. First, let me hurry up and name. I want to cut across the field, and don't want to put no cutter, no chaser on it. Data centers, data centers, data centers, data centers, data centers, data centers.
Data centers. Yes.
We want to make sure that we are amplifying the harms behind your AI. We want to make sure that you know what harms come behind your AI so that you can make a choice on whether or not you choose to still use AI. We want to make sure that you know about the harms that happen with the development of AI with these hyperscale data centers and the existential threat that they are to our lives and everyday existence. We need you to know. And so PJC is doing everything in our power to make sure we're amplifying that narrative. The narrative that you've been given is that it's beneficial. The narrative that you've been given is that it's convenient. The narrative that you've been given is that it's prosperous. However, beloved, that's not the whole story. We want you to have the whole story so that you can make a choice on what you do or don't do. Because this forced demand that's on you right now is unjust. And matter of fact, it's evil. That's the first thing. The other thing that we want to make sure with PJC is that you know it's the People's Justice Council. And by
Mm.
people, we are talking about everybody. We're not just talking about one or two people. We're not talking about one or two sectors of people. We're definitely just not talking about the haves versus the have nots. We want to make sure that you know that in order for us to beat this system and the oppression that exists within it, we have to be community. We have to be community. Our programs are designed to bring out the voice, bring out the stories, and lift up the voices of those who are most impacted, who get the least amount of attention. And I've even written a book, beloved. Me and Reverend Dr. Abby Mohawk, we wrote a whole book about climate justice, climate hope, where we talked about a moral economy. And the only way that this moral economy exists is if we become community. Whole book on it, whole book. Love for you to get it, but know that we wrote it because we have a voice and we want to make sure it's heard.
So you got to it before I was able to get to it. I'm so glad that you did. What I was going to offer is that PJC has multiple platforms where we're amplifying voices and telling stories. We got the People's Power podcast right here with us, and so we're so glad that you're here. We also have multiple documentaries exposing the unspoken, moving from resilience to restoration. We've got Washed. We've got other documentaries in the queue as well. And then Rev, this book. There's a book now, a whole new platform. What was the genesis of this book? Where did it come from? And tell us a little bit about your co-author.
Well, before I do that, Lindsay, let me make sure I grab Climate Justice Y'all podcast. We've
Oh,
also got
sorry.
the Climate Justice Y'all podcast, which is actually our longer running podcast that's being hosted by some dynamic young women who are just some amazing voices in the South and beyond. So I wanted to make sure that I hollered out Climate Justice Y'all podcast, Abby, as well as Marasia and all of those who are supporting and helping and develop our Climate Justice Y'all podcast.
That's right. Thank you.
Now, going back to the book, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I
No, you're
lost it.
fine. No, you're fine. So my question was, what was the genesis of this book and why a book? And then if you could tell us a little bit about your co-author.
Yeah, so I can wrap all that up in one story, and it's funny to me. I'm hoping that the audience will also find the humor in it. So I'm sitting here at my desk one day, and I get this call from Abby Mohop, who I've known for a while. In fact, we first started working together around the Climate Week march that happened with Fridays for Future. We actually organized the faith group on that. So we had a pretty significant part in organizing that. She and I. Uh, excuse me. And we worked together and shared space together for quite some time, intersecting. And I guess she was getting ready to write this book and say, "Yeah, I would love to do it." And well, this is the story she gave me. I would love to do it, and I've got somebody in mind that I want to co-write it with. And so I'm sitting at my desk one day and I get this call, and she said, "Hey, I've got this idea for writing this book." And we go over it, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds dope. And maybe you could do this and do that." And she said, "Good, because I want you to write it with me." And y'all, I don't know what the hell was going on, but I didn't know what I did. I've never. I wrote in seminary. I've written in college. You know, I've written papers to pass for grades, but writing a book was not something that I thought that I knew how to do.
Mm,
And but I'm a preacher, and oftentimes we write sermons, this, that, and the other. And so I said, well, let's see what we can do. And I ensured that going in the outset, I let them know I write in plain language. I speak in plain language. I don't want to sound academic because I want my people to be able to read this and
mhm,
and both be entertained by it, but also informed by it, and
mhm,
then lastly be fired up by it. And so I tried my best to write in that voice through this book. Um, One of the things that I'll give you all that maybe help you to run to the shelves to get it. We were talking in the book, and we write this, by the way, Lindsay, as a dialogue. So
mm,
as she's writing, I'll put in parentheses something that I might have thought either needed to be added or even rebuttal or whatever. And so we're writing, and she was describing something about racism or something. And I broke into the dialogue, and I said, "Yeah, racism is some irrational shit." And
mm,
it started showing and explaining how it was. And for me, that's one of my better parts of the book, not because I said shit, but because of thought
mm,
uh, behind it. Because at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. Abby Mohop is Reverend Doctor. Just got her PhD, I believe last year while we were writing this book, which is
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and yeah, and she's a white cisgender sister that is doing amazing work in the Presbyterian Church, and in fact, spearheaded the divestment um, with the divestment from fossil fuels. Excuse me, with the Presbyterians. So she's one of the ones that helped lead them to divesting from fossil fuels within the denomination.
Mm. We should definitely have her on the People's Power podcast at a later time. It sounds like the way you wrote the book is really for everybody. It's an accessible book. It sounds like everybody like is your audience. What's the response been so far? And like how do you see going forward including it as a platform to kind of work as an information source for communities and readers?
Yeah, so I will say that it's mainly been faith groups that have picked up it, in particular Christian faith groups that have been picking it up because we do intersect with Bible and talk about the way that God designed, according to Scripture, the economy and how it's total opposite of what we're living in right now, and this, that, and the other. Um, and so we've got some real good feedback from these groups. I've also had a few people that I wouldn't have thought picked up the book. would have
Nice.
picked up the book and read it, and they gave me feedback. I had one of my old classmates uh, to send me a message about how they really enjoyed the book, and I wouldn't have ever thought
Hmm.
that they would be wanting to pick up the book, and not that they weren't a person that read or they were. I just never thought that I'd be on their radar.
Mm.
Um, and as well as we've had, this book has also been used for textbook reading for colleges as well.
Oh, dope. Okay, higher
Yeah,
education.
yeah,
Maybe we can help the academics in the relationship building with community, because sometimes that can be an interesting process.
absolutely.
No, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So,
and in the book, I made sure to name community and name community leaders that through the years that I've intersected with. Some of the names that I mentioned earlier come up in the book as well.
so if you would, Rev, before we get out of here, show us the book, give us the title one more time, and let folks know where they can find it.
Climate justice, climate hope. Building a moral economy. This is a part of a series as well. So let me say that there's a whole series, building a moral economy. But this particular book is Climate Justice, Climate Hope. You can find it at Fortress Press, but also is sold on Amazon. And I'm not sure of what other outlets it might be sold in. I just don't know.
Is there anything else you'd like for folks
Yeah.
to know, Rev, on this special 7th anniversary special People Power Podcast episode? But you wanna let the people know.
Yeah, I would be remiss, beloveds, if I don't stand as an executive director and as the executive director of the People's Justice Council and don't make an appeal to you all for support. We can do this work and we do this work out of our passion, but the reality is our passion only takes us so far. We need fiscal support in order to do this work. We need, in other words, for those who don't necessarily ain't necessarily tracking, we need some money in order for us to do this work. We
Right.
need to be able to eat. We need to be able to feed our families. We need to be able to pay bills. And the only way that we do that, we don't have goods that we sell. We sell care. We sell our mission. If you believe in our mission, which is to engage and equip communities with tools and access to build power from the grassroots up so that they can fight for their own change, please, beloved, make sure you support the People's Justice Council. Well, I don't come around and I don't ask for a whole lot. I'm not one to do a whole lot of fleecing the people. I don't believe that that's necessary, and I don't believe it's just. I believe that we can ask and make an appeal, and I believe that it can be moved on your heart and in your conscience that you see that we're doing good work. You see that we're trying to be impactful and help others, and you'll come alongside us and support us. So we're asking that you would partner with us as the People's Justice Council as we move forward and meeting our mission. As always, I'm an offer to you love, peace, and light.
Thanks, y'all.
Take it all in one